it's still Halloween. Let's spread a little Christmas cheer. Welcome everybody back to another day in the 31 Days of Popcornween. Tonight we're going to cover the latest in the slasher genre, Terrifier 3. Buckle up, it's gonna be a fucking gory one.
You survived the most famous serial killer since Jack the Ripper.
The Terrifier franchise exploded onto the scene in 2016 with a very low-budget, very gory horror film that took a lot of indie horror film fans by surprise. It's been a long time since we had a good slasher icon. It seems like, thanks to writer-director Damien Leone, we have a new member to the great halls of slasher icons. Art the Clown stands head and shoulders with the likes of Michael Myers, Freddy Krueger, and even Jason Voorhees. And in some cases, he might even be outdoing his predecessors with the level of gore and ferociousness with which he kills his victims. Now, if you're like me before recently, you're probably not terribly familiar with Art the Clown or the Terrifier franchise. I had heard about it a few times over the past few years, and even a couple years ago watched the second one on a movie watch-along stream buried deep in the annals of the internet where copyright claims can't find us. And first kind of glance, I honestly had no idea what the fuck I was looking at other than a lot of extreme gore. Now, if you love gory movies, this is gonna be the movie for you. Terrifier 3, while being a continuation of 1 and 2, treats you like you've never seen the movie before. Never seen Art the Clown before. Never seen anything to do with this crazy world of psycho monochromatic killer clowns. Say that 5 times fast. Now, I'm not gonna recap Terrifiers 1 and 2 for you. If you haven't watched them and you like gore, go watch them. If you don't like gore, don't watch them. Terrifier 3 continues the story with a new little holiday spin. We start off with a family sleeping. It's Christmas. The Christmas tree's out. Little girl thinks she's hearing reindeer on the roof. Mom and dad are nuzzling down for bed. It's only a few days to Christmas, and the little girl's convinced that Santa has already arrived. But the mom thinks she's just hearing things and tells her to go back to bed. Well, the little girl hears something downstairs, and she discovers a man in a Santa Claus suit rustling around in a garbage bag of, we'll call them goodies. Now, she doesn't want Santa to see her, so she quickly sneaks behind a door where he can't see her. And the thing he pulls out of his black bag is a fire axe. She then takes and stalks upstairs and murders her little brother first before going to her parents' room and axe murdering them. Now this sequence is done in such a way that Damien wanted to try to hype up the tension and the creepy factor of Art. And when even he kills the dad, like the mom's just asleep and he's just axing the dad. The dad doesn't even make a sound. He's just fucking dead immediately. And she wakes up and she's like, oh, what's all over me? And she gets up and goes, oh my gosh, she's screaming. Art's pointing at her and laughing. That's this character. They tell you exactly who this character is in the very first sequence. This guy is a maniacal butcherer, and he thinks people's reactions to his murdering is hilarious. He's a showman of sorts. He's trying to put on a performance and make a work of art But there's something deeper. This isn't just a crazy guy. If you watch the last movie, you would see that there's some supernatural element going on here. This man shouldn't be alive. He got beheaded at the end of Terrifier 2. How is he alive? Well, at the end of the opening sequence, Art, after sitting down at the table and eating the plate of cookies the mom had put out for Santa, finds the little girl in the cabinet. And that sequence ends with a long shot on the axe sitting on the island. This is telling you right off the bat, this is not a movie that's going to be afraid to dramatically and horrifically butcher children. It kind of felt like the first episode of From, where the little girl opens the window for the granny monster, and you see her and her mom just hollowed out. A couple scenes later, just like, holy shit, this is not a movie that's gonna play around, man. This movie is going to shock you, and it is shocking people around the world. I think Australia gave it one of its harshest ratings it has. It hasn't given it out in since 2006. Audiences are definitely reacting to this movie.
People think it's always a ploy when we say people are throwing up, they're fainting, they're getting sick. They think that's our marketing campaign. And I swear to people it's not, but it's really hard to prove that unless you're in the theater and you witness it. This critic from Australia emailed me and my producer, and she said, I was just in a screening in Australia, and I witnessed 2 people faint during this movie, and one woman split her head open.
This is a movie that is meant to horrify and shock you, but it's kind of got a dark sense of humor. There's kind of a jokiness to Art the Clown that you don't get with a lot of slasher films. Freddy Krueger probably got the closest as far as jokiness goes, but he also got kind of corny. Art never speaks. Art never makes a sound. He's completely silent, even when he's laughing. We get shown 5 years ago, right after the events of Terrifier 2, where a cop goes to the carnival where Art and Sienna showed down, and somehow Sienna got resurrected while in a underwater tank. That's a discussion for another day. And finds Art's body, finds the aftermath of all the struggling. While he's looking around, Art's body reanimates and sneaks up on him and murders him and takes his head. And you see him on a train just after with the Art bodysuit, with the black officer's head just looked like a really fucked up mask. It's the homeless lady staring at. This is where this comedy, it's ultra dark comedy. The violence in this movie is so over the top and so just bloody and gory that it pushes through almost from horror to comedy. And not in the way that a lot of old slasher movies did, where they just would get kind of silly. No, this movie takes the kills very seriously, because Art takes them very seriously. The headless body, wearing the officer's head, shows up at the mental institution where Victoria, the disfigured woman from the first film, has given birth to Art's head, and they are both eating an orderly. And that's when Chris Jericho, which you may know him from wrestling, I know him from this. Chris Jericho comes to see what is wrong in the patient's room and is immediately attacked by Victoria and Art's headless body, and they rip his face off. They start doing the and they just rip his whole fucking face off. There's a lot of that going on in this movie. A lot of face rippings in this film. And then Art takes his head back and reattaches it to his body. And him and Victoria take another train where they bump into a a young man dressed as, well, as Art the Clown. Art's a big kind of urban legend around these parts, and people are now wearing costumes of him years after the original massacre. Presumably, Art kills him and takes his costume, because in the next scene, Art has a fresh new clown costume. And they go to an abandoned house where Victoria smashes a mirror with her face and then uses the shards to slit her wrists and go into, like, you think she's dead, but later you find out she's just hibernating. And Art goes up to the attic and sits in a rocking chair and presumably goes to sleep. 5 years later, workers find these horrific scenes, and, well, Art and Victoria both wake up and murder the shit out of both of them. And that's where another face ripping scene. He takes his box cutter and cuts down his forehead and then rips his face off scalp first. It's fucking horrifying. While Victoria uses the shard of glass that she killed the other guy with to, let's just say, pleasure herself. Yeah. I told you, this is a fucked up movie. Don't come to this point in this review, in this breakdown, thinking, I didn't warn you this was going to be a fucked up movie. Then we come to our main character from the second movie, Sienna, who is being picked up from the hospital by her uncle and taken to live with him and his wife and their daughter, Gabby. And for the most part of this movie, it's about Sienna dealing with the kind of the post-traumatic stress of the second movie. She keeps seeing images of her dead friend Brooke, like literally sit at the dinner table in one scene, being like, "You killed me. Could you at least pass the mashed potatoes?" There's a lot of fucked up shit that happens in this movie, but it always has this like dark humor undertone to where once you get past like the gross out nature of these things, it's kind of a funny movie. Because Art is our protagonist. Throughout all of these movies, he's our protagonist. Sienna's kind of the antagonist here, because she's trying to stop him from accomplishing his goals, which is to kill as many people in the most gruesome way as he can possibly conjure. In one scene, he even tracks down Sienna's brother, Jonathan, who is now in college, has a roommate named Cole, who has a girlfriend named Mia, who has a true crime podcast and is obsessed with the Hill County massacres. And at one point, this girl starts talking about how like she just wants to know what it's like to look in the eyes of true evil. Later, Art, who overheard that entire conversation, finds her and her boyfriend in the shower fucking, and dismembers him with a chainsaw. And her boyfriend, he literally cuts off part of his hand, I think gouges him in the stomach a couple times, and then he like flips over, he's trying to crawl away, and he takes the chainsaw. Oh yeah, I remember now. He cuts him in half, dick first, and while you don't see his penis, you do see a chopped up, what was presumably his penis, and then dismembers him butthole first with the chainsaw. It's pretty gruesome, and the whole time he's like laughing maniacally, and he's pointing, like laughing and pointing. And of course, the line about Mia wanting to look into the eyes of pure evil gets paid off, because right before he kills her, he takes off his holiday glasses and looks her directly in the eyes, and then finishes butchering her with a chainsaw before putting the glasses on her. God, this humor's dark. The guy who plays Art does a great job, David Howard Thornton. He's actually even recently said he wants to play the Joker. I don't know how well that would translate, because it's kind of similar. But does he have the voice? Does he have the laugh? Because, I mean, this guy's been silent for the 3 movies. technically 4 if you count the anthology movie. The long and short of Terrifier 3 is Sienna learns that Art is still alive. He kills a bunch of children in a mall with a bomb. He puts a bomb in a Christmas present and goes to the mall dressed as Santa and starts handing out presents. Honestly, that is kind of a very Joker thing to do. And it blows up and kills a bunch of children and parents and security guards. Like, at first she thought she was kind of a panic attack. People didn't believe her. But then once she hears the news story of the explosion killing all the children, she knows for a fact it's him. She calls her brother, tries to tell him he's in danger. He's freaking out because when his sister gets near him now, all those old feelings of fight or flight start coming up. And so Sienna's Uncle Greg goes to go get Jonathan. Sienna takes a nap and has a weird fucking dream. Like in the second one, she has these weird dreams that tell her something. But when she wakes up, Art and Victoria are in her house. Her aunt is tied to a chair. Her uncle has been beheaded and nailed to the wall and sliced, again, crotch up. And they present a head in a cage being eaten on by rats and tells her that it's the little girl's head. Turns out, though, it's actually her brother's head. Now, this might be a little... I have a little something about this. They never show him die. Her uncle goes to leave to go get her brother. She takes a nap, has this crazy dream, and then wakes up to find all this stuff. We never see her brother die. I'm wondering if that's actually the head from her brother's roommate or his girlfriend. Because we never actually see him die, and we never actually see the uncle pick him up. So her brother might actually survive into the next movie. We don't know yet. Art starts torturing her aunt. And what he does is he presents a glass tube and starts shoving it in her mouth and uses a mallet to hammer it in there to the point where she's bleeding from her face and stuff. And then puts rats in the glass tube and heats up the tube with a blowtorch, sending the rats into her insides. And then Victoria slits her throat and all the rats come tumbling out. It's really fucking gruesome. It's like nobody in these movies, like Sienna and her brother, maybe not her brother, depending on how real that head in the cage was, are the only ones who ever escape. And that's because Sienna, as said by the director, is kind of the polar opposite of Art. He is this embodiment of evil and the devil and hell, and Sienna is supposed to be embodying of good and light and heaven, I guess. And so Art starts bashing her in the hands, and then Victoria tries to possess her, but Sienna fights her off somehow, like pushes her out, and then breaks free and gets a hold of the sword, and her and Art go at each other again. There's a big bloody showdown, them fighting. He gets throwing her around, she's stabbing him with a sword, and she beheads Victoria, and the head starts disintegrating and turning into acid, and it burns a hole through the floor. Now, stick with me here. Burns a hole through the floor and creates a gateway to hell, which Gabby, who they revealed was actually not dead but being held hostage, immediately falls through and starts holding on to the edge. And rather than finish off Art, Sienna tries to save Gabby but fails, and Art escapes. And the film ends with Sienna vowing to find Gabby and save her, and with Art getting on another bus and making a young woman reading a book with the name of the very first Art the Clown short film, The Ninth Circle. And presumably these guys are gonna die. And that's the end of the movie. It's a fucking wild ride. Now, story, there's a lot of story here, actually. It gets weird in some places, but the universe these movies are set in is such a weird one where it kind of works. The fact that she has this magical sword that was given to her from her father, but that's really all the explanation you get. You don't get why it's magical, why she was chosen. You don't get any explanation why Art is. You get what they are. Like, she has a regenerating ability just like Art does. So the writer-director Damien Leone says he has a very specific arc he wants these films to go into, and he has an ending point. There will be an ending battle between these two opposing sides. Where that's going to go, though, I couldn't tell you. These movies are some of the most off-the-wall things you'll ever see. They just have the craziest kill scenes. The actor who plays Art is phenomenal. He's creepy and imposing. The lead actress that plays Sienna, she's amazing as well. You believe that she's going through these things. You believe that she feels the way that she does, and that she's pushed to the places she is. The acting is amazing. The cast is amazing. The plot, while I wouldn't say it's the most high-tier plot ever, there is actually a lot of good stuff in there. And one of the greatest things that the writer-director has done with this film is he's figured out a way to make murder scenes, character development, for your slasher. Every kill scene is like a new taste about what Art is. Like, what is he? Like, as a character, you get a real insight into the inner workings of Art's brain through his kill scenes. Now, it's not terribly deep. He's just coming up with hilarious ways to him in order to kill people, and gruesome ways to shock and horrify people. And he does a great job. I'd say overall, I'd give this Terrifier 3 a nice solid, like, B? B+. I really enjoyed it. It, like, had my heart pumping for a lot of the film. They do a really good job at building tension with the scenes. Like, Art, just his presence causes on-screen tension. Like, palpable on-screen tension. You know something horrific is gonna happen, and you're just waiting. You're just waiting for him to stop playing with his food. And I'm very curious to see where this franchise is gonna go. So thank you guys so much for joining me for this little review of Terrifier 3. I hope you enjoyed it. Hope I didn't give away too much of the good parts. Go out and see it. It's still in theaters right now. And if you haven't watched the first two, I may even do some reviews of them in the future. We'll see. We may do some commentaries or something, some watch-alongs. Come back tomorrow when we have another video from Ken that I have no idea what it is. And then the day after that, another video by Semper, who's going to phone it in and somehow still get the most views. We'll see you guys later. Thanks for watching. Hit that like button and subscribe on your way out. We'll see you next time for another 31 Days of Popcornween.